Welcome to First East Koshkonong Lutheran Church. This church is one of two church buildings that East Koshkonong Lutheran Church now owns. There are two churches here out in the country near Cambridge, Wisconsin, because in the 1890s, the Norwegian Lutheran Church split over the issue of predestination, and our congregation split into two congregations. One retained this church, the other went just around the corner of the cemetery and down the hill, and they built a second church. This church is now maintained as a historical building. It doesn't actually get used as much as our other church building, but it has some unique architectural features that are worth pointing out. The first thing you might notice is where I was standing. The pulpit was designed by the architect of the church, Ole Gunnelson. And Ole had noticed a church in Fort Atkinson, a Methodist church, that had seating in the round around a lectern, and liked that design. And you can see here the pews in the round all focusing in on the central stand where the speaker would talk. In Lutheran churches, of course, you're not going to have central space in the sanctuary that doesn't have an altar, so Ole was confronted with the question of what to do if he was going to put a lectern in the middle of the altar or in the middle of where an altar would normally be. And he came up with the creative solution of actually putting the pulpit right there in the middle of the altar. You can see it's elevated just slightly. There's a way to walk into it through a back space, and then the artwork is elevated above the pulpit. Picture of Christ, as there are on many altars. The preacher would have to walk back through the back, in through the curtains, and then preach out to the congregation from this pulpit with the altar around. As far as we know, and we've had visiting architectural historians from various places come, especially from Norway recently, this is the only Norwegian Lutheran church that has been built using this design, and so that's pretty unique. The other unique architectural feature of this building is what you can see up here in the ceiling, this cross. The cross is structural. The beams continue through the ceiling. Those are faux lines dropping down there. And the beam actually extends out to the four corners of the building. And so you have a very dramatic representation of the way in which Christ and Christ's cross is the foundation and also the structural support of the Christian faith. Finally, if we walk out again, one other, maybe not unique only to this church, but still very interesting, is this baptismal font carved of one piece of wood. This is the original baptismal font from the old log church at East Koshkonong. That church was dedicated in 1845, and the font was turned out of a solid aspen log, and they've retained it for use here in what we call the upper church. One last interesting detail, when this church was built in 1891, it was built from a scale model instead of a floor plan.